What's going on? Rocking out from Sin City today so that you guys can get some value. So we're going to be talking about some good shit. I'm going to start us off today, and then Rahul is going to take over. Later on, we're going to be talking specifically about turning every opportunity into a sale. So what that means to me specifically is always having a way to meet your customer where they are. And so that's kind of going to be what I'm going to talk about. It's in congruence with our overall foot in the door, hot dog kind of offer strategy I've been talking about for the last few weeks. And then Rahul's going to come in and talk about how he's turning everyday conversations, everyday visits, all that kind of stuff into business. Examples being, I know for a fact, he went to Starbucks the other day and ran into a business owner, shot the shit with them, and actually signed him for a database reactivation campaign, because why not? It's top of mind. We've been talking to people all this time, and he wanted to buy something. So if that was one of you guys, randomly talk to people. Every time you talk to a person and they own a business, there's usually going to be something that you can do for them, right? There's going to be something that they're going to hear you say, or that's going to come up in conversation, and you can present that as a solution, or they're going to overhear you. For instance, Rahul works out of that Starbucks all the time. So people will overhear him talking about business, and they'll introduce themselves to him, right? And so just kicking it right off today, just getting hot and heavy. And guys, if you're out there in Facebook land, drop me a hashtag live, please and thank you. Drop me a hashtag replay if you see this stuff later on. All of you guys who are in here, the VIPs, if you could, drop your takeaways and your notes in the comments, either now, during, or after the call. This is not just for us in the engagement, although that is part of it. It's also so that you guys can have a way to digest the information. I personally always find that if you write down notes and go through a summarization process at the end of these kind of calls, you'll actually be able to gather takeaways, and you'll be taking a lot more away from this than you otherwise would. But everybody learns in a different way. So I want you to take a note here to just try to master, how is it that you best consume information? How is it that you can best take in the knowledge that we're trying to give you and then put it to actual use? There's all kinds of people out there that watch trainings like this or read books, and they get all pumped up with the knowledge that they're getting and everything that's freaking amazing in it. And then, a month later they go and they don't remember a damn thing other than maybe the highlights. Raise your hand or drop a 1 in the chat or 1 in the comments if that's something that you've been guilty of before. Reading something, watching something, thinking it was amazing, and then never really putting it to use or properly digesting the information. I think if we're being honest with one another, this should be a hell of a lot of you guys, right? So I think one of the biggest takeaways, even though it's off topic today, really is find a way while you're a part of this community, whether you're in our free group right now, whether you're one of the VIPs that's sitting here with us, whether you're in the main GSD program and sitting with me every day, find a way to understand your own learning process, whatever that might be, so that you can truly take this information, you can truly take these skills we're trying to give you, and you can put them to use. So we're going to pass this off to Rahul after I get through this one little part. I want to dive into this a little bit. And guys, if you're wondering why it is I'm sitting around here with all of these really cool looking people, when you're like, why did they get to sit with you, Cody? I don't understand. I'm out here in free Facebook land. They all look very important. Well, the GSD, me and Rahul specifically, and sometimes Jason, because he's awesome too, get this thing. It's a stamp, and I stamp you with it, and you become very important. And all it costs you is this. You just don't go here today, and then you can do it. We actually have a $7 free trial link for it. You can hop on, you try it for $7 for the month if you want to, and then it's $47 a month thereafter. You get this, a course, another course, and weekly trainings. And also after this, you get what we call VIP sessions with the Diamond Club, where you actually get to sit down with me and Rahul face to face and ask us questions about the topics that we asked that day and anything else that you might need some private coaching on. We do it every single week, and it literally is just that cost for you guys. We're also going to be running a masterclass, I think May, whatever the first week of May is, Wednesday, Thursday, and it is VIP only. And it's going to be talking about making $10 million using hot dog offers, making $10 million using foot in the door strategies, and be able to put that to use. So what I want you guys to do is, if we'll get the link up in the top. Jason's going to drop it in the comments for you as well, so that you can hop in if you want to become very important, because we have that ability. So today we're talking about how you can turn every situation into a sale. All right. So like I mentioned already, Rahul's done this by just sitting at Starbucks and selling something all of you guys have heard us talk about a lot, which is a database reactivation campaign. What I kind of want to talk about before I hand it over to Rahul today is using the things that we've been talking about. That means the flywheel, and that means the foot in the door offers. And I want you to use it specifically. I want you to know how to use these to meet your prospects where they are. And having the proper foundations, right? And this is what we want to be always thinking of is what is our purpose? When we're a 0 to 20K a month agency, our purpose is really do all of the shit, test as much marketing, messaging, and offers as we can until we find our optimal selling strategy. Then once we get up into that, right, really 0 to 10K, and I'm talking per month, then we get to the 10 to 30K per month, right? Now we're talking about cool. Now, instead of doing all of this shit, we focus in our time on the optimal selling strategy and then slowly remove ourselves from it. Why do I care about this? Because the point of this is to make sure that we have our high ticket offer, our low ticket offer, which is going to be maybe the SaaS or the low ticket membership, depending on what kind of business you guys are running. And then we have our foot in the door offers that gets the conversations kicked off and started, right? And so this, knowing all of this, now we're allowed to have it so that every different person we talk to, no matter where they are, I can meet them where they're going to be. So if you're in this situation, so say that I know this, for instance, and let's just continue to build this out. So in the GSD, we've actually got these three things. This is called agency scale or agency launch. This here, we call it agency scale. And then this here is called boardroom. So these are three different products that we have because we're up past this level. When you get up past this level, you get to a million plus in revenue. What you do is you start to diversify products, which is actually the exact opposite of what you do until you get to that point. But that's not what I'm getting into today. And so having these three things now gets us to meet people where they are. We also have this thing where it's like, well, what if they aren't ready to spend high ticket with us at all or get into that conversation? And we're like, okay, well, then we started one more thing called, you guessed it, the Diamond Club. And that's where you guys are right now, VIP. And this is really just nurture, but we blow it out of the water. We over deliver on purpose. That's the whole purpose of it. But to realistically say, it's like, okay, if you can't quite afford this yet, we'll put you here so that you can get there. It's the first steps to get towards where you can afford this. Or if you're just not sure of us or who the hell we are, even if you could afford it, but you don't want to take that risk yet, totally understandable. Come check us out, hang out with us for a few weeks, see if we know what the hell we're talking about and if we're legit, right? And then you can move it on. So now every single person, we have a roadmap for who they are, and we have a product and a price point and a community that fits their schedule, their needs, and what they have, right? So every time our salespeople go into a conversation now, because we have that flywheel and because we have foot in the door offers, and because you can do very, very specific things with us that fit your needs, your desires, right? We can make sure that 90% of the people that we communicate with, there's a solution there for them. I'm confident that when my salespeople or my setters go out and talk to people, as long as starting a digital business of some kind, we now have a product that we can help them with. Honestly, I'm pretty confident we could help them even if they were just a mom and pop shop down the street, but our avatar is our avatar. So now if our marketing gets those people in front of our salespeople and connects them, they'll be able to make that happen in one way or the other, whether that's a Diamond Club that eventually becomes one down the line, whether that's a launch, or whether that's straight to the scale. And it allows us to make sure that since all those products are built to flow into the next, because they're going to take left foot, right foot with us, they're going to make money. These strategies are there to make them grow, right? You notice they're very purposely labeled: launch, scale, and then boardroom is the next level up, is going to the next thing. So what are we doing? We're launching people 0 to 10K, and then we're helping them scale properly. And we're building the foundation so that they can then become a multi-million-dollar business with different products. But you can't do that if you don't do it properly and meet them where they're at. So what I really want to do with this, guys, and what I'm trying to do with this monologue before I pass it off to Rahul for what he wants to talk about today, is to specifically make you guys see how these pieces to the puzzle, right, that we've been putting together over the last month, right? Because what did we do? We did the reverse masterclass, reverse high ticket masterclass, right? Talking about the flywheel, talking about building these kinds of offers. Then we did SaaS, right? We did the whole SaaS month, which was all about saying, hey, the reverse high ticket method kind of talked about low ticket memberships. SaaS was all about talking about SaaS offers and how agencies can leverage that. This month, we're talking all about foot in the door offers. All of these things come together, right, as pieces to this exact puzzle, as ways to create this for your own business. So hopefully that's making sense, guys. Drop me a 1 in the chat if this is making sense, how all these pieces are coming together, and if this kind of monologue that I just gave was worth giving or not. Same for you guys.
Definitely. I mean, reiteration is always helpful. I mean, that's we always have to hear things over and over again because it lands at some point, right? That's how skill is increased. Cool. So we got a lot of ones in the chat. All right. And look at Cody's beautiful background that I'm going to get. Can anybody guess where Cody is right now? Anybody guess? Let's just give it a wild guess. Drop it in the chat where you think he is. He's in the United States. We got to get more narrow than that. I can't confirm or deny. All right. Yeah. Vegas, baby. Vegas. Yep. So hopefully he comes back. Otherwise, you got me for next Thursday Diamond Club for good. All right. So let's dive into this sucker. So we're going to turn every opportunity into a sales opportunity. And I'm not talking about go to a wedding and try to sell the bride and the groom, right? I'm just trying to get you guys to talk about more of what you do by prompting other people to ask you the question, what do you do? Now, when Cody mentioned like this right here, these overpriced pieces of coffee, like these are worth 100x to me. The $3 is worth 300 to me in ROI. The reason I say that is because when I go there, I spark up conversations with new people. I sit there with a laptop open because I spend a little bit of time working. And then the person next to me, I'll bring up a conversation and ask them about what they do. I'll say, hey, cool sunglasses. Oh, thank you. I just got them at whatever, Sunglass Hut. Oh, that's interesting. I've been there before. Well, what is it you do? Conversation started. What are they going to ask me back once we have that rapport built? What do you think they're going to ask?
What do you do?
What do I do? Right. So now if they are a business owner, or even if they're not, depending on what they say to me, I'll choose to decide if I'm going to start the conversation or not. Now, if I'm, let me give an example. I'll talk about the HVAC person. This guy loves me over at this Starbucks. My conversation when he says, when I find out, oh, I do HVAC, I've been doing it for 30 years. I'm local to this neighborhood. He asked me what I do. I don't say I'm a digital marketer. I don't say I do Facebook ads. I don't say I do SEO or even web design or funnels. I talk about a story and I have it up here and I'm going to drop this framework of an elevator pitch inside of the chat. But I'll say something like this, like, do you know how a lot of companies that own HVAC and are always constantly looking for brand new customers, and then when they hire a marketing agency, I mean, they feel like the leads just don't convert. The ROI is not there. The promises become false. What I do is I don't help people generate just brand new leads. I help people take advantage of their existing clients because at the end of the day and the heart of it all, we want to increase our revenue. Is that right? Yeah. So what I do is I put systems in place so we can capitalize off of a couple things like missed calls, getting 5-star Google reviews because we know how important reputation is. And then we activate our existing client base because a lot of times we're searching so much for new clients that we forget about the clients we serve. So I help people get more clients and more revenue from the database they already have without spending money on marketing just yet. That's how the conversation starts. I've taken away the problem that they hate. I'm not one of those inclusions. I'm not a commodity of a marketer because I could be pretty persuasive in the sense of, let's do Facebook ads. If I lead with that, I know I even, like you guys heard me live last Saturday, the Saturday before, when I brought the client on and I said, I could have, in front of his face, I said, I could have got him on Facebook ads because I'm pretty persuasive, but I didn't want him to do it because he'd be burning his money and he'd fire me. I'm going to do that later. And I looked at him and I said, hey, we're going to do branding first. We're actually going to build a brand, spend way less money. Let's get you the cash flow to be able to invest back into marketing. So I'm taking away the competition. I'm going back to my foot in the door, and then I'm going to circle right back to the marketing, because once my product proves and gets results, then I'm going to be able to be untouchable. Now I become the authority, the leader. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, who wants a framework right now so I can drop it in the chat? Does anybody want a framework? And you can use that for anything. Like, drop me a 5. I want to see 5s. And Facebook land, got to join the VIP. This is going to go in the Zoom. So there's one I had pre-canned, and I wrote this one probably like 6 or 7 years ago at an event. I think I heard Donald Miller from StoryBrand on stage, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just type some shit up and then share it with a bunch of people. But that way of presenting what we do makes us not salesy, makes us not be the guys that are going to cause resistance. It just creates massive amounts of curiosity that we're the guys that are girls or gals or thems that the client, the prospect, has been looking for. We're literally telling them we don't do the things you've already bought that don't work. We're doing the things that can actually grow and scale your business, and then we can loop it right back. I'm just trying to gain trust. Now, as far as the price, a lot of people think foot in the door means how low can I go? What's that race to zero look like? It doesn't have to be that way. Like, we've done foot in the doors for $16,000 setups and $5,000 a month for the right type of person, because they have the budgets. It's a foot in the door for them. If it's going to be the local people, think about the alternatives that we have. And this is the criteria. I'm preparing my sales process for every worst case scenario. Everybody's been burned. 5 years ago, they could have spent $5,000. Today, they can't spend that because they've gone through 3 or 4 people. What have they bought from those 3 or 4 people? The same thing, just different people saying it. All false promises gone. So I'm going into the assumption that that is the case. Now, as far as getting the evidence of that, my introduction helps me before they can ask me more questions. How do you do it? What is it? Like, I've been looking for that. That's a typical response where it engages us to continue the conversation. But then I can do a discovery. I'm like, well, like, I can definitely tell you what I do, but what is it that you've been trying to accomplish when it comes to getting customers? Like, what have you tried so far? Now I can get the background information, because I already have my SaaS play on the back. I already know that that's going to be my foot in the door. Now I'm just preparing, is that actually the foot in the door I want to go with? Now I have to understand they've tried Facebook ads. Oh, cool. Like, why do you think they didn't work so well for you? Then I can expand upon what is not working with it. Maybe it was the sales process. Maybe it was the offer. Maybe it was the way they was set up. Maybe the leads were going to nobody. That's happened. I've seen people have WordPress websites and they don't even know where the leads go. And then when you look at it, it goes to the developer that built the site, and the owner didn't even know. It's been a year. So, I mean, there's wild shit out there that business owners are at that level. They just sometimes don't know. They just trust the person on the other side of the phone, saw the website, looks good, launch it, no leads. They're just waiting for phone calls. So once I get in the mind of them and understand the lay of the land, then I can start to develop what I can recommend and what they could try. So I'm not selling them anything. I'm just offering recommendations at this stage. Like, have you considered trying a different angle on Facebook? Because I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, like, the biggest brands in the world obviously spend money there, but forget them. But if you look on Facebook right now, I mean, do you see any local companies as you scroll? Every second scroll, every second little thing you see on there is an ad, right? Do you think they're advertising because it doesn't work, or you think they're advertising because it possibly does? So do you think it could have been the method and the way you did it, or the way the company did it? Like, I can walk you through how we strategically put them together if you're open-minded to it, of course. And if it's not something that you're interested in, totally fine too. So that's how we can circle those back to bringing on Facebook ads to open their mind that this is a possibility, that it could work, right? Because, like, imagine Michael Jordan. We've all heard of Michael Jordan. I don't need any numbers in the chat, but, like, if he shot the basketball, missed it, looked at the basketball and said, fuck, basketball doesn't work, right? It takes a little bit of effort. Sometimes it takes a little repetition. And part of that is money. Part of it is time. Sometimes it's a combination of both. And that's how we turn every opportunity into a sales opportunity. Whenever we're sitting next to anybody, we have a way to open up the prospect or the person we're talking to take natural curiosity in what we do. because it's pretty boring when I go up to people. What do you do? I'm an attorney. Fucking sucks. Boring. Hate you. All right. That shit's stupid. I'm a CPA. Cool. 3 letters. Right. It creates nowhere to go with, unless I'm trying to force the conversation because they're a mute. If somebody says I'm a CPA and I'm the person that needs a CPA, there's no way I'm fucking hiring that person. If a CPA said, you know how like a lot of small business owners, like by the time tax season comes around, they're just trying to get their books done. And I mean, quite frankly, I see wild stories. They're missing so many tax write-offs that could be putting money in their own pocket. Instead, they're just giving it to our beautiful federal government. What's our federal government doing it? Giving it to other countries. Wouldn't I help people keep more money in their pocket so that they don't fund useless stuff that the government spends money on? What would I say back? He didn't offer me nothing. So how do I save some motherfucking money? That's what I want. Who wants to pay their taxes out here? Who loves writing that check? Like, is that your favorite check to write? If you reduce that by 50%, would you guys like that CPA? So yeah, so that's how a CPA could offer their elevator pitch. It creates the curiosity so the other party could actually have an engaged conversation and then chase and recommend and talk about you behind your back in a positive light. Like, I met this person. This guy was talking about taxes. This guy's awesome. I got his number. Maybe we should all get on a call with him. We should learn about this stuff because we're burning money. What if we put that back into marketing? What if we could go on the vacation just off certain things, right? So it can work in anything anybody does, life insurance, final expense, whatever. And that's how we really have conversations, because does everybody here, like, this is where I need a number. Just put a yes or a no in the chat. Do you guys know what Cody and I do? And it's okay to say no. Okay. Cheyenne does not know. Okay. Is that yes, I know what you do, or is it a no, I don't know what you do? Okay, Nico's of course knows what we do. Matthew knows what we do. Okay, so I'm gonna go with 100% yeses. I think we're pretty good at analogies. We're good at sports quotes, so I know we're good at that. But yeah, but that's the point. We've worked hard to be able to explain what we do in not a boring light. So every time we're talking to people, when it turns into a business conversation, and of course appropriate, we're not gonna just try to go like hang out with friends and just talk business and bore everybody to death. But it creates a trailblazing pipeline effect. Like, if we're looking of what is my next sale tomorrow, that's a short-term approach. You're going to fail already. Nobody started a business to be successful on Friday. We want to stay in business forever, for a long time. And that's why as we grow, and the more people that know who we are, what we do, we can create an impact. We can create a long lasting, I remember this person does that thing, and it starts off with this cool little elevator pitch. You're going to be a referable person. All right, somebody's got to mute out.
It muted. I had to mute you too. Unmute. I had to mute everybody. There was a few of them.
Okay, cool. All right. So anybody want to come up and unmute? Just raise your hand. And do you guys want to do an elevator pitch? Anybody want to try? Because trying is the best way for getting better. All right, Jen, let's do it. And give it up for Jen. Let's give it up for fucking Jen. Just raising her hand, just the first person. I didn't have to force anybody. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I really need it, so I probably suck at it.
Oh, you're gonna be better than anybody else that didn't do it. So let's go.
Okay. Well, you want me to tell you what I shared yesterday at networking event?
I want you to tell me whatever comes to your mind.
Okay. So what I do is I help people nurture their customer relationships, generate new leads, and get the systems in place to make it all easy.
Okay, cool. Now I want to reformat that and start it off with, like, do you know how? And I want to put an antagonist in there. And the antagonist is going to be the rest of the people that fucked up their systems. You know, a lot of people set up systems, they're overcomplicated and they just charge after every single phone call. And then all of a sudden you go back to the previous system and it's still not what you wanted. And then you can go into how you are not those people.
Yeah. Well, is it just as effective or less effective if I say this is what I used to do and I saw there was a need and now I do this?
That's a story. That's if I was podcasting you, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I want to create them. I want them to imagine in their head by saying, do you know how? Or whatever, take the word you off. You know how?
Okay. So you know
Because
how
then they'll start to relate. So we got the antagonists. You know how those bad guys are taking money, building complex systems. They all fucked up. They're using Keep and whatever, like HubSpot, and they're zapping it over to other things and zipping and zaps. It's all crazy, weird acronyms, right? There's glues everywhere.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I'm going to be very good at this, but I'll get better at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know those people who are like, okay, I already suck. Okay, say again.
You know how?
You know how there's okay, you know how, but I'm having a hard time resonating with this person who's like all over the place. I mean, except that I am all over the place. So you know how those guys are out there and they have all these super complicated systems that you can't follow, and you're just wanting to take care of your people. So it's like there's so many steps. You just cannot process all that information, and it's not serving you.
Yeah, that's a good start. It's a good start.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because because the reason, like when I'm meeting somebody, I'm anticipating what their pain is based on what I believe to be true, number one, and number two is what I do for a living, because I can't do the CPA thing because I'm not a CPA. I don't know anything about taxes really, right? But that's kind of where I'm already preparing based on the people I serve. So when I see business owner and I'm making the first move, oh, hey, that's an interesting book you got on the table. Is it any good? That's how I actually started the conversation with the HVAC guy. And he's like, you know what? I haven't even cracked it. I'm like, oh, okay. It says contractors and it says sales. Like, are you a contractor that does sales? He's like, well, I own an HVAC company. That's how the conversation started. I made my first move of natural curiosity. And I actually really wanted to talk about the fucking book because it was a sales book. And then it turned into him being a business owner. And then I used the same style of approach. And then I went into, like, you know how like a lot of contractors, when they're busy, they miss calls, right? And when they miss calls, what does that lead to? Is the possibly lost sales. Like, has that ever happened to you? Yeah, what I do is I help people, instead of doing more marketing and trying to get the next person and squeezing like water out of a rock, it sometimes feels like with Facebook ads, if it's done incorrectly, is I help people when they're already getting business. I help the prospect get off Google. So when we miss the call, we start a two-way conversation on text. Best of all, when we have our existing client base, the best people to sell to are the people who already bought. So those are the areas that I first help people with before we expand into marketing. I know a lot of people like to do the opposite and just shovel leads down the throat and expect money to come out of thin air. That I don't believe to be true until we have our systems down. And they clung on to the fucking missed call text backs. And that's when I went into what's the lifetime value of a customer. It was $800. And I'm like, do you remember the last time where you did miss a call? Like if we quantified it, let's say over the last 30 days, how many times could that have happened? What about the last year? Got it. Okay. So it's a bit of revenue. And what are people do you think are doing when they're calling and somebody doesn't answer? Where are they when they're looking for help? They're on Google. They're on Google, right? Right. So what would they do? What would be the next move if you need somebody to change some air filters or fix a AC?
Call the next person on the list.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not about customer loyalty, it's about customer convenience. If we give them the convenience that they made the call, we can have a two-way conversation where people love the text. And I'm getting text messages as I'm talking now. People love the text. They don't want to pick up the phone all the time. All right. I text my 76-year-old mom. She didn't fucking call me, we text. All right. So it's adaptable. That's how business is conducted and capitalized upon. So that's where the conversation started. And that's what we're doing, is just missed call text backs. Then the next step is a database reactivation. The next step is building 5-star reviews. All of this is connectivity that he does not already have, even though he has fancy tech. We just simplified it. We lowered and reduced costs that he's already spending. But more importantly, we're unleaking, we're plugging a leak. Like I became a plumber for him, his marketing plumber, if you will. I'm leaking all those little holes in his sinking ship. Because I took it a little deeper. I found out like how long have you been doing this? If you don't mind me asking, like what revenue did you expect to be at this stage in the career? And I'm like, okay, and where are you now? The answer was 2.5 million of where he wanted to be at this stage a year. The where he's at is 750. I'm like, how long does it take a business to get to 2.5 million? His answer was then 3 years. I'm like, so over 35 years, you were hoping to be there. And we're at 750. So we're like 3 times below our goal. And he's like, man, I just want to do this for 5 more years and hit that number. So now significance came into play. What's his significance? Because right now the company's worth nothing. 750, basically your overhead's going to be like 600 at that stage to keep employees at $250,000 in California. Right. So we have a lot to room. So now he has 5 years to die trying. Right. To create the legacy he doesn't have yet. So that's where everything goes. It's like a lot of times people chase their dreams, and they should. Right. And I loved him. 72 years old, 35 fucking years, still going at it strong, wanting to learn, listen to Gary Vee. And I just said, stop learning and let's start implementing. Because Gary Vee in a nutshell, post 15 times a day on every fucking platform. The end. Do what you love. Follow up. Gary Vee synopsis, done forever. Right. But you don't need that. You need the do part. The do part's missing. If you can't do it, get a doer. If you don't know it, get a teacher. All right. So that's how we kind of turn these conversations into opportunities, is just by being likable and creating massive amounts of curiosity, and make the first move if you need to. Like ask people what they do, or what, like give them a compliment. Hey, those checkered Vans are dope. I've barely seen them. I love those throwbacks. I mean, that can start off a conversation in any scenario. Like you don't even have to talk about the business. It could lead there. Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, it's not hard. Like somebody come off mute and start a conversation with anybody you see here. You don't have to continue it, but like saying, hey, Fred, like, dude, that QR code's dope, man. What QR code do you use? Awesome, man. Like, I can't really read it because there's a lot of words going on. What do you do? And then he's going to have to ask me the same thing. Right. And it's not a boring conversation. The boring conversation is, Jen, how are you?
Good. How are you?
She doesn't even want to know how I am. That's how boring this conversation's going, right?
Super.
Yeah. And then I would normally say, oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And then awkward silence. Somebody's trying to think of something. And the easiest thing is to look at your phone. Hey, good seeing you. That's how people do it today, right? But these simple little nuances are literally where you can turn a business with how, like, I don't want to say silly because it's fucking important as shit, but look how simple it is to start a conversation where people will know, like, and trust you just off the way you approach them.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sorry. I've been doing my outreach, and I connected with someone yesterday. He does multiple things, and I said, "Wow, you've got a lot going on. How do you manage all of that?" And he says, I'm young. You'd think I was into digital planners, but I do everything on paper. I go, isn't that hard to track? He said, yeah, actually, I probably should do something else. I said, I know something that would probably work really well for you. Are you open to hearing about it? He goes, actually, yeah. So boom, right there. We're going to, sit down, and we're setting a time to talk.
That's perfect. Like, try to, like, instead of, like, that's perfect what you just described. And for everybody else, like I just try to think of, like, where do I have an opportunity to curiously understand somebody's business rather than make like a statement too soon of what I do, how I could solve their problem. I just want to understand a little bit more of the background. So, like, the questions I typically ask, even if it's just in passing, like lifetime value of a customer. Like when I do some of the sales audits for and the call breakdowns with the inner circle people, I'll even ask the question, like, what's the lifetime value of the customer? Don't know the answer. That's a good thing because now we can correct it. But if you want to contrast yourself, some of these questions are just going to make you look like an authority because you're asking questions to business owners that may not have been asked that since a college class, right? Like, and when people don't remember what the fuck they learned in college, like you never respected the teacher in the first place. So how could you take that information and run with it? So that those little things go a mile, go so far. When I ask the lifetime value, what's the customer acquisition strategy? Like where do you feel like you can capitalize off of selling more back to your existing clients? Have you ever considered maybe something called an order bump? What's that? Like, do you know how you go on Amazon and then like I was looking for a camera or a monitor. I was looking for dual monitors for my desktop here. And when I went to go check out, I clicked on the dual monitors, but then it said, we'll get these cool arm bars that swing a different way and go vertical and sideways. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Let me order bump that in. And then it's like, well, do you want cooler looking wires that don't make your desk look like shit and they're all over the joint? Huh. Yeah, I want that too. Next thing you know, 265 or whatever. I got cheap monitors, VSonics, 200 some odd dollar dual monitors, arm bars, and then wires I already had. Order bump increased my customer value. Right. So simple little things like that by knowing how to explain it and using the storytell of Amazon that they're already familiar with. Because if I had to describe it the way they're doing their business now, it's impossible. Because then they're going to argue with me like, well, you sell waterproof writing boards. And this is the actual conversation I had yesterday, by the way. So waterproof writing boards. What other product do you have? Well, we have magnets and we have some other shit. I'm like, what's more popular number 2 product? The magnets. I'm like, cool. If I had to do the mat like this analogy with his product, he would have been like, well, no, doesn't work that way. You don't know my business. Like I would have got a fucking resistance like crazy. But because I explained it by Amazon, he can put himself in those shoes. He's done it before. It's subconscious to him and just natural rhythm to say, I do want that. Huh. That's interesting. I could have done that this whole time. Now I'm making him think of like how many clients in the past do you think could have ordered these magnets if they just had the option? Do you think it would make sense if we even went back to them and saying, hey, I know you purchased this, but this is a really popular product amongst our people. It's branded. So when you put it on your board that's waterproof, it has your stamp, your brand, your identity on it at the same time. Heck, if you misplace it, people know it's yours too. So those are the things that we explain to people in a method that they could totally understand, be curious about, and want to do business with us. But also the areas that I look for is like, where can I save you some time to get to your goal a little bit faster? So we have some speed. Where can I already save you money, whether you're already leaking the revenue or you're bloated on things you're spending on? And then by investing with me, how much better can I increase your revenue with a well thought out creative plan that you can understand? Because a lot of people start off their conversations speaking perfectly fine English, but then they go into tech mode and talking about pixels and Google 4 is out. Like who cares? Fuck cares about what version Google Analytics is on? But that's what some people are talking about. So we go from English to Chinese or Mandarin or a different language at least. And that's when the brain shuts off. That's when you're boring and you don't know it. Because they're listening, we keep talking. And then they got to go. Thanks for the information. Has that ever happened? Thanks for the information. Let me think about it. Oh, send me a proposal. And they didn't even ask the price. They just said, send me a fucking proposal. That's when you know you certainly aren't going to get that deal back. So that's what we want to solve for. That's why we want to make sure that the basics that we don't focus on is the basics we practice. So when I want you guys to rewrite this stuff, like Diamond Club, Facebook Land, you're welcome to play along. You got to hear the audible version of this in the VIP stuff. I put it already in the chat. I'll drop it. Or I'm sorry, I put it in the Zoom chat. I'll drop it in the Facebook chat. And I want you guys to format something for yourselves and put it in your notes. Whatever phone you have, whether it's Android or iPhone, we can all get along. Just put it in the note section and just rehearse it. I mean, it's your business, so it's kind of important to be able to get that connectivity. So that's what I would argue to start off with, because a lot of people are missing their elevator pitch. They're actually telling people factually what they do. I do SEO. Like, well, shoot, a lot of people don't know what that means.
No, they don't.
Yeah. I mean, my clients think SEO is CEO, like a chief executive officer, think pay-per-click, like PPC is like a paper clip that you hold papers together. Like, they don't fucking know. They just want to know what the outcome is and how easily can you explain it. And that's really what it's all about, is simplicity, because we don't want to activate their brain that doesn't start paying attention and their mind starts wandering, you know? So once the mind's wandering, you're done. It's hard to recover. Then you have to be, a lot of people aren't aware of how to recover. Okay, cool. Let's go into some VIP stuff. So you guys over there on Facebook land, hopefully you got some value out of this. Let me know what your takeaways are. Can't see the Facebook chat. Don't even have Facebook even open, or wherever we're streaming this. I know there's a bunch of platforms this thing connects to. So drop your comments. Let us know you're here and what you do. Maybe we'll help pick you out and even do a elevator pitch for you guys too. I'm going to share this with you guys in the chat here, and then I'm going to cut the stream. We're going VIP. Jason, if you want to, or whoever's on the custom creatives GSD team, you can drop the VIP link for those that participated from the Facebook land, okay, in all the groups. Okay, let me